Welcome to the conversation. My guest today is a medical doctor who works with the University Hospital of the West Indies as a consultant psychiatrist specializing in general psychiatry and addictive psychiatry. And he's the man that the PNP is depending on to land them the seat East Central St. Catherine when the next general elections are called. Dr. Winston Delahaye, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm the man who will deliver the seat.
There you go. All right, fine. Let's put some things into context because I know some of my viewers will hear East Central St. Catherine spoken about and be confused.
Yes.
What is true is that the seat was originally contested as East Central St. Catherine in 1976. Ferdinita won it then. But the physical constituency changed. So 2011 is when where you are now, which is effectively a Portmore seat.
There you go. Portmore seat.
There you go. So that was won the first time around by Arnaldo Brown for the PNP, beating Camille Suzette Buchanan, and then Orlando Terrilong took it from Brown at the 2016 vote.
Correct.
There you go. But just to be certain, because I saw an article in one of the newspapers where they said that this is the X number of times that East Central St. Catherine will go to the polls.
Like many other types of bits of news, it's misleading facts.
Oh my goodness. I can't take that one. I have to defend my constituency as PAJ president.
You have it correctly.
There you go. All right, good. So we set that in context. You have led a distinguished medical career. You served as chief medical officer. And you did that, and people accepted that you were a quality holder of that office and a quality practitioner regarding the role that was required of you to perform. So accomplished professional, a respected professional, a man not known by people to be falling into penury. Why politics at this time of your career?
Yeah, very, very good and important question. So like you, I'm watching my television every night. I'm seeing what's happening in the country. I'm reading the newspapers. I don't feel safe. I don't like the direction the country is going. And I thought about it, you know, as opposed to sitting on the fence complaining, I probably want to get out of my air-conditioned office and be with the people, for the people, representing. Leadership certainly has been something I've demonstrated, and I certainly think I have the ability at this level in terms of representational politics to make a difference with the people.
There are more examples, though, of politics sucking the life zest out of someone who wants to go in to make a change because the system is what it is. What makes you think that you'll have a different kind of success?
So it's not easy, and it's been about 6 going into 7 weeks now. It's been like 7 years. However, having looked at the situation when I was approached, made the decision looking at the figures as an academic, you can imagine I looked at that. It was very clear to me that a constituency where someone won by 475 votes, a constituency where of 25,000 people, almost 50% did not vote, then the odds are great. In other words, that person was just lucky, won by chance. I'm lucky too, in addition to being able to do good work. And so that went into my decision to make the representation. I'm moving now from helping one person at a time in my office to 100 at a time currently in the constituency, to thousands at a time, and eventually 3 million at a time.
But you say, based on your analysis of the situation, you wanted to make a change, you wanted to make a direct intervention, and then you said that you were approached. So was it that you prompted the approach, or you were just sitting and just approached out of the blue?
Well, I'm always serving. My country has been good to me, and the approach is very logical. I benefited from free education, went to high school free, a Michael Manley era, went to the University of the West Indies free, Michael Manley Initiative, did medicine in Hungary free, a Michael Manley-led collaboration with Hungary. And so it's not too far-fetched that the PNP would approach me, being a man of service. And so without hesitation, having looked at the figures, I agreed to participate, and I'm now on the ground. And as you can see, losing no time, taking every effort, making every effort to be with the people, for the people, understand their needs. That constituency, the needs are very, very wide within communities, even more wide between communities.
You've said just now about the opportunities opened up, provided for you by the PNP administration and the late Joshua Michael Manley. How has that caused you to love the PNP over time?
All right, so I'll tell you, the whole concept of being with the people, for the people, pushed by Michael Manley, as you know. I lived in Hungary for 7 years. That's what opened my eyes to what's called social engineering, which isn't something that we have done very well in our country.
No.
And so that's where a government, and it begins with political will, determines what's acceptable behavior for their people, one. to ensure they have adequate educational measures at all levels, kindergarten, middle school, universities, etc., to ensure their people know what should be done, to ensure that should you not toe the line, then the appropriate methods of making sure you pay for the price for not cooperating is done. In a system like that, there is no bligh. My country is filled with blighs, for example. And so I've been thinking about this for many years. It's not just Hungary. Australia does this, Canada does this, the US does this, Japan does it. It really doesn't matter. It can be done in a democratic society. I love democracy. It's why I choose to live here. And so it's clear to me that in coming to politics, I'm bringing something I've never heard mentioned in the political arena. Twofold. Emotional intelligence, where people recognize that it is their thoughts that lead to their feelings, and by processing those feelings, you behave. We don't have that right in this country. It is why, for very few countries, you step on a man's shoe, especially if it's a clerk's, and you could die. That's a reality we face. And then, on the other hand, social engineering, where, as I pointed out, you determine what's acceptable behavior. Many of our people don't know. They've never heard. You get your values from your parents, other family members, the school, or a church environment, or any other religious practice. We've lost our way, many of us. And so when I look, and I'm mentally ill, my patients jokingly say to me, "Doc, look at what's going on out there. You sure is we mad?" They're serious.
That's a good
and
question.
I get it.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we're in a society where we're probably not so right in our thought process.
Some people hear you speak of social engineering and speak of your love for democracy, and they'll combine the two and they'll get democratic socialism.
Well,
and they're going to say, in the 21st century, where is this democratic socialist going? He is an anachronism. He's a throwback in time. His time has passed.
And all positions are welcomed, and they're allowed to communicate their feeling. What's very clear is I'm coming with the experience of living in a country for 7 years where I saw that work. I then went on to do addiction psychiatry at Johns Hopkins in the US. Yes. It's done there too.
Yes.
I then have close connections with Canada, been there for extended periods of time. It's done there too. And so the point is, I am not aware of a concerted effort in this country at social engineering. So how do you expect better? 1,000 so-so-so-so, whatever you call it, won't do the job. You must have intervention programs at all levels, starting with kindergarten. In Hungary, I saw where people were taught, I'll give you an example, at age 1 + 2, never do this unless you're at war. I've never seen that anywhere in this country. I've just given you a simple example.
Yes.
But there are very clear methods of getting this down on the ground to people so they understand what's acceptable, what's not. I want that for myself. I want that for you. I want that for our children. I'm assuming you have children.
Yeah, I have a daughter. But here's the thing, though. If you're to stick with Hungary and what the social engineering examples and the philosophy has made you want for Jamaica, or have made you want for Jamaica, and you look at where Hungary is now and how that system, some would say, is still working, but it's working under a despotic leader. I mean, Viktor Orban is a very divisive figure on the continent and very divisive within the EU, and a man prone to wild statements against immigrants, blacks, and people who are not living in the castle of his own skin. So I say that to say that the kind of leadership that a country like Hungary with the social engineering and that allows it to work is not the kind of leadership that will be brooked in Jamaica.
Absolutely, and I see you're a very learned man. You are correct. And so I haven't suggested that these systems are not without challenges. Mark you, the Hungary in the 1980s when I did medicine, 80 to 87, isn't the same as now. I go every 2 years. I'm very aware of what's happening. So you are correct. And so what I'm doing for myself, what I've done in my own head, recognizing the emotional intelligence within myself, is to sift through what works, what doesn't, what's appropriate, what's not. All systems have issues. The US, for example, despite the high levels of social engineering, still have challenges. So there are other factors at play, like drug use, my area of focus.
Yes.
Happens here as well. And so what we're really doing is recognizing and picking from the lot what you think can be applied to your country. What's for sure is, if you don't start, it's not going to happen. And so the concepts I bring to the table won't bear fruit next week, next month, next year, but certainly in the relatively medium near future, we should start seeing some fruit from that.
You know, I hear you, and my mind goes back to when I was in high school in the mid to late 90s.
Right.
The then Prime Minister, Percival James Patterson, PNP chairman, of course, he initiated a program, the Values and Attitudes campaign. I think it was too short-lived from my perspective. I think that was a moment the country missed because of what it professed to do. But there's a reason it came a crop where it ran off the rails. And it's an indictment, many believe, and I share that the same PNP administration that birthed the idea of the Values and Attitudes campaign allowed it to go off the rails. So I say that to say there seems to be either a systemic resistance to that kind of social engineering in Jamaica, which is why it hasn't taken root. How do you plan to crack the code?
So here's my response to that.
Yes.
So I served as Chief Medical Officer under two excellent Ministers of Health, Daly, and then the other in the PNP administration, and Tufton in the current administration. I wasn't wasting time. I was able to learn how you get things on an agenda, how you push them, how you push for funding for them, and how you facilitate the administration of these policies, for example. That is now under my belt. And so I recognize it's against the tide, probably, but certainly without that effort, without being at the table, which is what I say to my constituents, if you're not at the table, you can't even get the crumbs at the table.
Yes.
And so I will ensure through their help that we are at the table doing the work to facilitate that, so we can then negotiate all of those obstacles you just said, and the world isn't without. So when I made a decision to leave my air-conditioned office, it's not to have a great life and have a comfortable life. It takes work.
Yes.
I'm prepared for that.
But you know, I go back to the point that politics is the graveyard of so many good intentions. And look, I haven't been around long relative to a man like Cliff Hughes, the man who gave me my training.
Right.
But I have seen enough of people who, it's almost as if a candidate is best in opposition. A political party is best in opposition with the ideas that they speak and the intentions of a candidate, well-meaning, looking to go into an election process and win and then starting to do the work. It just never happens because the system, man, the system is like a 2,000-pound gorilla on your back. So I go back to that point again, and to say that so many good ideas, Dr. Delahaye, have failed, have died on the vine. Isn't there the worry within you that maybe you won't be able to impose your will on a process and a system that has the country where it is? My
response to you, I'm an addiction psychiatrist. Based on your reasoning, then my patients who are addicted to substances would never have an opportunity.
Well, it's not my reasoning, it's the reality.
Correct. And so what I'm saying to you is we can take a volume of water and change that from an ice cube shape to a circular shape. That's what I'm about to do. And given the opportunity, and so far I've been given the opportunity, it's up to me to determine with my people, with the people of this country, what I have to offer and explain in terms they can easily understand at all levels, in order for them to see that this person probably understands and has something positive for the country.
Here you go. That's our first segment with Dr. Winston Delahaye, the PNP Standard Bearer for East Central St. Catherine. He'll be the candidate when the next election comes around, and he says he's on a mission to win. More after this.